thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're looking forward to finding out more about who you are and how you got interested in running for the new Collierville School Board.
Great. I'm looking forward to letting the voters know what I'm all about.
Tell us a little bit about your history of Collierville.
Well, I moved to Collierville in 2001. I've been very active in the community since I moved here. My children, both of them, go to Collierville schools, one at the middle school, one at the high school. And so I've been very active and passionate about the community since I've been here. I love our town.
Well, that's great. We're going to go right in here. Tell us a little bit about your history of community involvement.
Well, I've been very active in Collierville since 2001. I started out with the Kiwanis Club of Collierville, and I was very active in that organization. And we did a lot of good work for children, including Angel Tree. I moved on to participate in the Leadership Collierville class of 2005. And from there, I joined the board, first as treasurer and then later as vice president of alumni. And currently, I'm serving as the vice president of the Collierville Education Foundation. And I've been passionate about the children in our community and the teachers and making sure we take care of our teachers. And with the grants, the Education Foundation has given over $500,000 in grants to the schools here in Collierville since inception. I'm proud to be a part of that. So
you might already have some opinions about what good education is and what it's not. Is that right?
Yeah, I think our education system needs to make sure that we serve the needs of all the children in our community. We have lots of great programs in our schools. We have a wonderful school now. We need to make sure we maintain that, but we need to make sure that we're providing an opportunity for every child to learn and achieve their maximum potential, because we owe that to our children.
Well, that's great. The citizens are familiar with the school system the way it is now, and you've had some experience with the school system. If you were to, is there any changes that are important to you that you'd say, you know, I think this would be good for the town if in the new school system this was done differently, or we had better food in the cafeteria, or whatever it might be?
My goal as a school board member is, first we need to focus on making sure we maintain the level of service that we're currently providing. I don't think when we start out we need to make any sweeping changes in our system. We have great schools, so we need to make sure before we make too many big changes that we have a solid foundation. We hire the best superintendent we can. We get our teachers, our best and brightest teachers, because without them, we don't have a solid foundation, and they are what makes our schools so great. So we need to make sure we focus on those things first, make sure we have buildings in which to educate our children. And then from there, I think as a board, we need to work together and say, where can we make improvements and, you know, move our school even further down the road to greatness. And so we can have a school that makes the community, the county, and the state proud.
So how did you get started with this idea about running for the school board, and what did your husband or friends say when you brought it up to them for the first day? Did they, or what was their reaction?
That's a very good question. Well, I've never had any desire to run for a political office. It's not something that was on my list of things to do. But as you know, most of the people in our community are, we're very concerned about what's going to happen with our schools, and are we going to maintain the quality of education. And the schools are what draw many people to Collierville. And the schools and our hometown atmosphere, that's what defines us as a community. So, you know, talking to people, I heard a lot of people saying, why would you get involved in this mess? You know, why would anyone want to get involved in this mess? And I asked myself, why wouldn't we? Somebody needs to stand up for our children. So I talked to my daughters and told them, you know, it's going to be a big time commitment. Mm-hmm. And I asked them how they'd feel, you know, if I missed some of their games, because they're very active in the community. We stay busy a lot. And they said, Mom, this is our future. Somebody better stand up for us. Somebody needs to, look out for our future. And they said, you have to do this. And with my experience, I think I can be a strong member of the team and make a difference and make sure we keep our schools great.
So on the school board's going to have to face an enormous number of issues. And there's going to be differences of opinion, and there's going to be different strengths needed for it to really be successful. I'd say that everybody that's running is probably a leader in their own field. What style of leadership would you normally practice? I mean, so some people are visionaries, some are connect people, some people are analytical. I mean, there's just different kinds of ways that people lead. What would your style of leadership be, you think?
Well, first of all, I think I commend everyone running because it takes a great deal of personal courage to put yourself out there. But as far as my leadership style, I'm an analytical person. As a CPA, a bean counter, I'm a numbers girl, so I like to delve in and do the research and get the facts together and then present my position based on facts. I try and keep personal feelings out of it. I've been in a leadership position at my work, so I think I'm a fair and honest person. I believe in being transparent and open with people, and I know there's going to be disagreements on the board, but that's part of having open communication. So I think that I'll work well with any team. I've proven that in my work, and so I'd say mostly an analytical type person.
And so an analytical person on the school board, how would they use that energy, that style? They're looking for what somebody else doesn't see, or how would you describe it?
Well, a big role of the school board, past hiring a superintendent, is to make sure that we have a manageable budget and being fiscally responsible. And there's going to be a great deal of issues related to finance and accounting type nature. We're going to have an audit as part of a new municipality. They have an audit of the Shelby County system. We'll need an audit committee. Well, that's what I do. So I certainly would be a good resource there. I know at the candidate forum, they discussed that finance was the primary focus of the training that we have to go through. So I know it's a huge role. So I think having someone with that background is going to be critical on the school board, and I'm the only CPA running. So. This is really a big thing to create a new school system. How much time do you think a board member is going to spend in the average week, and how does that work in with your schedule? Well, the time commitment is going to be significant, especially in the beginning. Probably it could be 20 hours a week, maybe even more, I don't know. But as a CPA, I'm certainly not unaccustomed to long hours or unusual hours. My father was a township supervisor for our town growing up, which is the equivalent of a mayor of a smaller town. And so I know how much time he spent in his role in an elected office. And I know the implications on the family. That's why I sat down and talked with my children and my husband about what this meant. And I have their full support. Then, like I mentioned, as a CPA, I'm certainly not adverse to working long hours. I've been doing that now, campaigning. I think that's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I also went to my employers, and I have the most wonderful bosses because they know my passion for education and my commitment to Collierville, and they're willing to give me whatever time I need to make sure our school system is a success.
So in your campaigning, what's been the reaction from people? And if you don't mind giving us a little entertainment, what's the dumbest thing you've heard from somebody? Is there anything?
Well, I've had a lot of support. I can't say I've heard any really dumb things. I mean, I know that there's some misunderstandings out there about what's involved in the school board. I think they think the school board might have a little more say in hiring teachers or things of that nature, and the school board doesn't hire teachers. They hire a superintendent. Superintendent hires teachers. But you know, so I think there's some misconceptions out there of what the role of the school board is. And really, the school board manages a very large company, is what the role of the school board is. We set a chart a course for our schools, and then we hire a great superintendent to keep us on course. And you know, I think that's
the hiring the superintendent. That's going to be a difficult decision. I'm assuming that there'll be 3 or 4 finalists, and they're all going to be well educated. They're all going to have some experience. What would define a difference for you, or what would cause one to stand out more than the others? Anything in particular?
Well, I think when you're looking at a superintendent, obviously we need the experience, like you said. We need somebody who's going to communicate well, be respectful of the board, the teachers, parents, and the students. Somebody who has a vision for the future of Collierville schools that's consistent with the vision of the town. We need somebody who's innovative, because we don't want to just stay as we are long term. We want to get our school established, similar to what we have now, and then move it forward. So we need someone who's going to be able to have a vision and help us, take it to the next level. So, we need to find somebody who's going to have the same ideals, and they need to be honest, have integrity, and be transparent. We need to be able to work together.
Let's say you're shopping in town and a citizen comes up to you and says, "I voted for you, and my daughter Sally just hates her 4th grade teacher and is having a problem." What do you do in a situation like that?
Well, the role of the board isn't to interfere in the actual day-to-day operations of the schools, so I'd have to refer them probably to the superintendent so that they could properly handle the issue.
You spoke about the superintendent having the same vision as the town. What might be how would you describe the vision of the town, you think, for the school system? And I know it's not been publicly discussed or articulated necessarily, but
well, I think no school board member acts alone. So it's something, when the new school board gets elected, we're going to have to sit down and talk through, where do we want to go, communicate with the community, talk to the board of mayor and aldermen, and find a consensus. I think, right now we need to get our schools back to, status that we have now, make sure we can maintain that, and then we need to define our vision as a team and have a consensus.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Well, we appreciate you being willing to serve as a public servant, and wish you well in the race.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.